Happy Easter, bitches. Sorry we're late. It's actually my fault that we're late, because I was in Hawaii. But welcome to Podcasa, Bonita, special Easter edition. Just because it's Easter.
Yes.
It's also special because we have a guest star. Not really. It's actually just my foster puppy in my room. She's asleep right now. But she's here. She's going to listen to us talk about season 16.
Yay, we're very excited. And we are late, but we are going to have the next podcast up next week instead of 2 weeks. Because we know that we're late. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's my fault. I was in Hawaii, so...
Right. We're later than the fractured butthole at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, better late than pregnant, though, so...
True.
Let's get started with Reverse Cowgirl.
Aired March 14th, 2012.
When Clyde's mother dies after falling into the toilet due to Clyde leaving the toilet seat up, the government hires TSA agents to patrol anyone and everyone who goes into the bathroom with a belt attached to the toilet. Meanwhile, Stan convinces Clyde to sue the inventor of the toilet, so he employs a lawyer who conducts a seance that will allow this to happen.
You mean a seance?
Yeah, it really is a seance. I don't know. Okay, one thing about this season, I always think, South Park hasn't been as good since, season 14, but I'm not saying that this is bad. This is nowhere near as good as season 14, but it's still, a good season. I actually really enjoy a lot of the episodes from this season.
Yeah, this episode was very refreshing, especially coming off the little bit of a slump we were in season 15, so it was kind of nice to get back up.
Exactly. And you know what I noticed in this season, there aren't a lot of political episodes. Barely any political episodes at all. It's all some social issues kind of, but it's really just kind of basic storylines, which isn't bad. It's funny. There are parodies, and it's not talking about anything majorly political, so that's really refreshing as well.
Yeah.
Especially in this case, when we talk about this is something that's so, I think this episode, I like it, but I feel like it really appeals to married couples a little bit more than anybody else because of the friggin' toilet seat debate. I totally bet, this was, I think it was, right after Matt got married and everything, so I bet, this is just him bitching about being married or some shit. That's how they came up with the episode.
Right. I like this one. I like their whole take on the age-old argument of who should put the toilet seat down. And I felt so bad for Clyde in this episode, especially every time his mom came roaring in and was screaming at him. And then when she died, that whole scene was
I felt more upset when she actually died, Rachel.
Right.
I think that was a bigger issue.
Right. I mean, it does suck. I mean, having such a shitty parent that's very verbally abusive is also made me sad, but I mean the dying was sad too. That scene was kind of funny to me actually after she died.
Yeah, not gonna lie, it was pretty funny too. I really enjoyed the seance scenes. Those are pretty funny.
Yeah, I agree. I liked how ridiculous they all were, and I love the whole joke where they're you can always sue somebody, even if they're dead.
Oh yeah, I totally feel that's something people would try.
I would.
Because we're in such a sue-happy society.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I don't know. This one's, funny. I really think the TSA stuff, just need to check inside your asshole, sir.
That's my favorite
that
line.
It's really funny because, with traveling to Hawaii and everything, I've had to deal with the TSA so much, and they're, they're just doing their job, but it's pretty damn annoying.
Right, yeah, definitely. And I do love...
I feel like this is just personal, adult bitching stuff.
Yeah, and I love the obvious references to, airplane TSA stuff and then putting it, in a bathroom. Because, that's just so funny. And I love the joke where, Randy's sitting in the toilet and he doesn't have his seatbelt on, and then the cop, climbs up a ladder into his window and gives him a ticket.
Oh, man, I think the TSA stuff is probably the best part of this episode, in my opinion.
I agree.
But Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I love the joke where Butters, like, his whole life he's been sitting in the toilet wrong, supposedly, but then
Oh,
it turns out
yeah!
he was right the whole time. And I hate that so much because, like, it actually makes sense, like, more than the way we actually sit. Like, I'm like, when you explain it, it makes sense.
I found this out, like, my mom loves watching these crazy, like, YouTube videos about, back in, like, the 1700s with all these crazy dresses. People, like, there was one on, it's like, how people use the toilet, like, back in the day when they had, like, those crazy hoop dresses. And it makes sense because the women would, like, lift their cage and approach the toilet, like, that way. They would sit on it the opposite way that we do now and everything. So I'm like, maybe we are using it wrong, you know?
Right, who knows?
But, yeah. Yeah, let's go on to Cash for Gold.
Aired March 21st, 2012.
Cartman launches a gemstone network and creates a very lucrative business. Stan searches for the real value of a piece of jewelry that was a gift from his grandfather. Meanwhile, Cartman's lucrative new business preys upon an extremely vulnerable clientele.
This episode, was kind of, I don't know what the right word for it is, but I remember, like, all those Cash for Gold businesses, like, kind of popping up everywhere. So, like, watching this episode, I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, I remember that. And I remember those, like, late-night jewelry shows. Like, I didn't watch them, but, like, yeah, I used to, like, flip through their channel and I would see them. I didn't know that's what that was doing. Like, they were scamming all people. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I would have never known this at all. Like, it's kind of cool that they gave us the facts, like, a huge part of the sales they make are, you know, older people that they kind of take advantage of.
Oh, that's sad.
Like, I knew the bullshit where it's like they talk up the prices of what something's worth and then sell it to you still for an insane amount of money, but they just, like...
Right. I mean, they're not the only ones who do it, though. Like, even just, like, any regular store where they're like, this was $60, now it's, like, $20, and I'm like, oh my god, and I, like, think I'm robbing them, like, no, I'm not.
You're fucking them. You fucking Asian lady. That storyline is pretty funny. Like,
yeah.
I kind of love the Asian ladies, like, in the back, whenever Cartman would pick stuff out, the little Asian ladies in the back would be like...
Yeah. I liked Stan's storyline, too. It was a little sadder, though, but I did appreciate it, what they were doing with it. I was kind of sad that Grandpa Marsh is, like, in a home now. I was like, what happened? Why can't he live there with them anymore?
This, like, episode... it's not really, like, I don't know, I guess the word for it would be subtle, but, it's like a scene that you really normally would not see in South Park, where it's, like, genuinely, like, a sad scene. It's played as sad, and you're supposed to feel, and you do, like, when, Grandpa Marsh, he's talking about he's forgetting what his dog looks like. Yeah. And... you know, my grandmother had Alzheimer's and everything, so it's kind of really like that. She would not remember who you were. It's, like, really, really, really sad. So it's kind of cool that they had that actual moment in there where you really did feel for Grandpa Marsh and everything, like, because that's really what Alzheimer's does. So, yeah, I always give them credit when they can, like, successfully... They've always kind of done that. Whenever they have, like, a genuinely sad or heartfelt moment, it's always played very well. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never had a moment where I don't think they've done it well, so. Yeah,
I did like the whole story where Stan's grandpa is talking about, he's like, oh, well, I comforted myself when the dog died that I would always remember her, but now I can't remember her. It was very sad, and you really kind of felt for her. But then I also liked how they used the Alzheimer's to get more humor, too, not just sadness. Because I liked how Grandpa Marsh kept forgetting that he, like, bought Stan the bolo tie. And he's like, oh, that's fucking gay as fuck, Stan. Why are you wearing that?
That's fucking gay as fuck, Stan. Don't wear it anymore.
That was so funny to me.
That was pretty funny. So if they had just played it super sad, the jokes wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. But they just, I don't know, I felt like I really enjoy this episode. But I don't think about it often, except for when I'm thinking about that song, like that totally acapella song, when they're at the factory. But Yeah, I really enjoy this episode.
I think my favorite part of this one is when Stan calls into the jewelry place and tells the guy to kill himself. And then he does it.
Like, at the end. Like, that's insane.
It's, like, so twisted that I think it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, it's true. But it's like, dude, it's kind of like their idea, or it's kind of like their view on, the, Biggest Douche in the Universe episode with the psychics and everything is like, you know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Yet you're still continuing
you just don't care,
to do it. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like,
exactly.
You're despicable. So I kind of like really enjoy it when Matt and Trey are just kind of like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, they're really kind of
not even joking.
right. They're kind of venomous, but like the people who deserve it. So.
Right. But you know, it's a darker ending, but you know, I'm not offended by it at all.
I know, me either. Like, I thought it was funny. I loved how Stan calling in got all the old people to like turn on that guy, and they started calling in too.
Exactly. I think that's so funny. But yeah, I think we can move on to Faith Healing.
The Memeing Show aired March 28th, 2012.
The boys get into meme photography, but become discouraged and conflicted after learning that the meme they tried to perform at the Republican National Convention has been supplanted in popularity by newer ones, including the ones that leave investigators to believe that cats are evolving in intelligence and have become a threat to humanity.
Alright, I love memes and I love South Park, but this episode is like so out of date that it's like almost embarrassing. I do still like it, but I do like how they show how quickly memes like change, and they really do like 2 weeks later, like memes change like after like a week or two. It's like crazy.
Exactly. Okay. The thing is also this episode is dated, but it's kind of like a history lesson, honestly, because this is what memes use. Memes used to be like, you know, planking, and they
were like public things, yeah.
They used to be like pictures with like that white text and everything, you know, like I don't know that I can't even think of them, but like, they're like the why you know memes and the meme faces, like that's what memes kind of used to be, and they've evolved into like self-deprecating, like relatable humor and everything.
It's much more online now. Like you don't really see people doing memes in public anymore. It's all on the internet.
Oh yeah, for real, and it's something that's like not as commercialized anymore either, because whenever like a company tries to, you know, do memes, they're from like 2012, where it's like a boss.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's just kind of cringy, but this episode like has its cringe because, you know, it is dated. It's dated, and that's just kind of what it is.
You can't avoid it,
but not gonna lie, I laugh my ass off every time I watch that little like meme video
with the trains.
Where it's like, it's a warning against memes, and it's like, here, get a picture of me T-bowing in front of this train. It's like, train! No, Ryan, take the picture! Like,
that's my favorite part, because it, like, I mean, I can totally see that being me. Like, there's a train coming, I'm like, quick, take the picture of me memeing.
Oh my god, it's so funny though. And literally the one where the train just like comes out of nowhere with the building.
Yeah.
But I remember where like this how are memes dangerous thing
happened.
I know like somebody died while planking. Like planking isn't the thing that caused the death.
It's just what they were doing, while it happened.
They happened to be planking. Like, it's so stupid, but...
Yeah, and I love the whole competitiveness that they have, like, where Kyle and Cartman don't want to let go of the meme that they really like, while the other two are and everyone else is kind of, like, ready to move on and go for it. And I love...
that meme. I feel like there's always that meme that you still have such a soft spot for, and you always kind of want to hold on to it.
Right.
I have so many.
I love memes.
I have so many memes that I want to hold on to. Like, I would still talk about that Crave That Mineral meme all the time.
I love the scene where, like, the boy, where the boys catch Stan, like, cheating on them with another meme, and they're, like, so offended.
Okay, we think this is dated, but now we're making memes out of the memes.
Yeah.
It's come full circle.
We adapt, okay?
Like, even though, like, this episode is super dated, it's still so funny. Like, I can still sit and enjoy it.
Definitely.
There are some parts where I'm like, oh, really? Oh, that's old. But
yeah.
for the most part, like, it's funny. Like, the Olong Johnson cat.
Yeah.
The Faith Hilling song at the end. Grab a titty or two.
Yeah.
Faith Hilling's the only memeing I'll do.
Yeah, and then I do generally enjoy Kyle and Cartman as rivals, but I really liked them in this episode. I thought that their dynamic worked, and I love the scene where they kind of are realizing they have to move on from Faith Hilling, and I think it's Cartman who says, "I guess the only thing that doesn't change in life is that things change," and I loved how profound that was. It only made it more funny that they were talking about memes and not like actually life.
Because you could take that out of context and be like, oh, South Park had this tender moment.
Like, no, it was
memeing.
Like,
no, it's about memes, bitch. I'm ready to move on.
Me too. Meme
well,
too.
I think it's fitting that what we're moving on to is one of the only, like, 2 South Park Easter specials, and we're talking about it on Easter. So let's talk about Jewpacabra.
Aired April 4th, 2012.
That title is just funny by itself.
I really like this one.
South Park's big Easter hunt is in jeopardy when Cartman spreads rumors of a dangerous beast lurking in the woods nearby. But Cartman finds that spreading these ideas may come to endanger him.
This episode does a lot of parody. The whole video format is a parody of this ridiculous show called Finding Bigfoot, where, like, these people, like, basically Cartman in this episode, where these people go in the woods and, like, try to find Bigfoot, and they never do. And then
yeah, I love how they, like, relentlessly hate on ghost hunters and, like, all these shitty reality or finding.
Yeah.
Oh, they do, like, the whale wars and everything, where it's people just not doing shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think that just pisses them off more than anything. They just don't do shit.
Right, I don't think it's like whaling or Bigfoot or that's not what they're mad at. It's just that the reality TV show format is so bad that, like, they're blatantly just hooking you and, like, leading you on. It never gets anything. But the other parody in this episode is the end is a parody of, I believe, a Charlie Brown scene where Kyle takes Cartman and he kind of puts him back in bed, and then it's very sweet.
Linus, Lucy and Linus,
right,
from Peanuts.
Okay, I love the scene where Cartman and Putters are first, like, going out in the woods and trying to catch video of the Chupacabra because when Cartman's trying to draw it out, he's like, no cries, Jesus is alive, and then Bars is so scared, he's like, Eric, stop.
I love, like, this episode is so consistently funny. Throughout the episode, I think the Jewpacabra joke is funny in itself. The Bobo character.
Oh yeah.
Bobo. This is terrible, but it reminds me of Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Like, tell me about the Jewpacabra, George.
Oh God.
But
another part I love is when Cartman is like, he's afraid the Chupacabra is coming after him, so he hires, like, a bunch of kids from school to, like keep watch over him or whatever. And he's, like, hiding in the church while they're all eating KFC next door. And he's terrified. And he's like, Jesus loves me, this I know, 'cause Republicans told me so. That was actually laughed so hard. That's such a Cartman thing to say.
It really is, honestly. Like, I also don't really know what the safety and fun, like, superfood thing is.
I have no idea
what they were trying to talk about, but I mean, they're clearly talking about something. But really, all I care about is the Jewpacabra and that one scene where it's apparently Cartman is now Jewish.
Yeah, I hated this ending. I didn't like it. Because the whole point of Cartman is that he's anti-Semitic, he's racist, he's an asshole, and they played off it for humor, but it's obvious that's not what he was supposed to be. And I'm like, I feel like the character wouldn't work at all if he was Jewish, so I'm like so glad that Madge never followed up on that. That would have been a disaster. I did like all the Jewish flashback. I don't know if it's flashback or like a dream sequence where they're like living in ancient Israel or something, and then it's Cartman.
Yeah,
I thought that was very clever. It was really cool.
that was really clever. I just kind of it also kind of was like, God is vengeful and everything, and Carmen's like, wait, no, he's not.
I love that scene where Kyle's explaining it, and then Cartman's like, no, God is not a dick.
That's so funny, because it's like, Jesus loves me. I'm like, or God is a dick.
Right.
I'm like, what? Jealous and shit? Like, read the Bible, dude.
Yeah, Jesus is the good one.
I think this is just a funny episode all around. Like, I really enjoy it.
Me too. I'm ready to go on.
And it's fitting that we're talking about it on Easter, but we're going to move on to Butterballs.
Aired April 11th, 2012.
Stan wants to raise awareness about the dangers of bullying by shooting an anti-bullying video, while Butters falls victim to his grandmother's extremely cruel abuse.
I remember the first time watching this episode, that twist where it reveals that, like, his grandma's the one picking on him, that, like, blew me away. I was like, what? Because, like, your grandma's, like, stereotypically, like, the nicest person in the family, and it's such a weird thing that she's, like, stabbing him with a fork under the table and shit.
Exactly. Gummy bears.
Yeah.
But, I really like this one. This is another one where I feel like this whole season has, like, a lot of, like, genuine, deep moments and everything, because, my favorite part is totally the ending, where, it's after Butters has, like, stood up to Dr. Oz and beat the shit out of Dr. Oz on the show. And then he goes to his grandma's room and everything, and he's like, yo, Grandma, I beat somebody up, and and I'm not gonna lie, it felt really good, but now all I can feel is, like, this emptiness and this terrible feeling, and I realize that's what you must feel all the time, and then it goes on to be like, there are gonna be people like you, there are gonna be bullies in the world, and, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna beat you and defeat you by showing, you know what, I'm still standing, like, I'm still here, and you're gonna, and he's, like, basically says, like,
he's, like, snatching her wig.
Like, he just reads her for filth, honestly. Like,
That's I think my favorite part of that speech is when he's like, he's like, you're gonna die someday soon, and I'll come visit you just to show you how good I'm doing, and you're just gonna be stuck all alone being you. And I was like, oh shit.
Shit. With that little pan under your butt to pee in.
Yeah. With classic Butters, but that was really deep.
Like, it was really, really deep. Like, that's honestly the best advice anybody can give to a bully, or to deal with being bullied. Like, but over, the whole, go tell an adult, go talk about it, kill him with kindness. Like, it's really deep and, like, telling you, it's like, you know what? You just gotta be better. You just have to know that they're, like, sad little people doing this, and it's like, I'm gonna show you that I'm better by just being who I am. Like, that shit's, like, really deep, and it's really meaningful, Right. The season's full of it, so I really love this episode.
Yeah, Butters' storyline was more deep, but I actually really like this one because of Stan's storyline, which I enjoy a lot. Because it's another classic Stan episode where his ego, like, gets in the way, and then he has to kind of come back and kind of find himself again, but I love the journey, because I loved his Make Bullying Kill Itself song. It's so catchy. It's hilarious. And I remember because
they all freak out and everything because it's like, dude, this is one big shot. You ruined it.
Yeah. It's so funny to me because when I was in high school, like, my high school did one of those things, like, this, like, one big shot of, like, a bullying video, and, like, I remember that so clearly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in it because they were just doing... Like, the whole school wasn't in it. It was just, like, teams and clubs were all participating in it, and I didn't do shit in high school, so I wasn't in it. But I remember, like, watching it, and I was like, alright.
See, my school was just really shitty, and they didn't give a shit about suicide prevention or, basic human decency. But I live in the South, love, so that's just kind of what you have to do with.
I love the gag in this episode where it shows a lot of people who are against bullying, but the way they go about it is like they're bullying others into like joining their cause, and that was really done really well. Like I love the whole gag where all the characters are like waiting in the bathroom to bully each other. It's just so funny.
And then Kyle like points it out. It's like, dude, you locked me in the bathroom.
He's like, oh yeah. My other favorite part is when Stan jacks it in San Diego at the end, and
I forget about that.
and I love this episode because Kyle's like warning it the whole episode. He's like, just be careful, you don't end up naked and jacking in San Diego. Like he knew it was gonna happen. And how did Kyle know that unless he's psychic? He's still psychic. Remember the psychic Kyle episode? He's still psychic.
Exactly, he is psychic. Now you gotta write your fan fiction about it.
Oh God.
But yeah, I don't get the San Diego. Like I think it's funny and I think it's super fun and catchy.
I don't get it either. It's just funny.
I just don't get it. I don't think we're supposed to get it. I think it's just gonna be one of those jokes where it's so meta and you're just kind of like, well, it's kind of like it's really funny. Episodes are really good when they end with a song like that. Like Bookers and Cum in the You're Not Yelping episode is very much like Jack and San Diego-esque, you know?
Definitely.
It reminds me of that. But yeah, I think we're gonna move on.
Yep, I'm ready.
This is another favorite.
I love this one.
Like this. I should have never gone ziplining.
Aired April 18th, 2012.
The boys spend the day in the Colorado mountains learning how to zipline, which turns into a fight for survival as they find ziplining so boring that it proves fatal.
Alright, well this episode is a parody of a reality show called I Shouldn't Be Alive. Well, it's not reality, I guess. It's kind of documentary style. But I love this episode because I used to watch that show all the time when I was a kid, and this is like so spot on. It's hilarious. I heard Matt Trey got the actual narrator from the show to do this.
Yeah, they did. It is, I don't know his name, but it is one of the actual narrators from the show. It's really cool. Like, they did their research.
Yeah.
People love to, like, hate this episode. They always say, like, oh, you know, it's, this one's, like, the worst episode. It's not funny. I'm like, I think this is
one of my favorites of
the
season, yeah.
Honestly, I feel like you either love this episode or you hate it. There is no in between. Like, you either absolutely love it, like me, or you hate it like somebody else.
I don't know. I feel like you might hate it if you haven't seen the show they're parodying. Because I used to, like I said, I watched it all the time, and it's so spot on, and that's why I like it. But yeah, right. But if you don't really get what they're going for, then I can see why you think it was stupid.
See, I've never watched that show, but I love this episode. But I have been ziplining. I went ziplining in Alaska a few years ago, but I absolutely loved it. One, because I'm in frickin' Alaska, and we went in a small group, and it was just a fun group, and they were like more intense zip lines. I could not imagine how boring in Colorado it would be to zip line.
I actually went ziplining in Colorado, but it's not what you think, because it's kind of, I think it's what Trey wanted to do when he went ziplining, is that I went to this, and I ziplined across this huge canyon, and then after that I was done, and then there was no more ziplining. It was cool, and then it was over.
I honestly kind of did what these guys are doing in the show and everything, but I was in a smaller group, and you didn't have to you took the shuttle to the mountains, but your zip line would take you to the next zip line.
Oh, okay.
Zip line, and then you'd be at, like, you'd be way up high in the trees in frickin' Alaska, in Juneau, Alaska, so it'd be fun.
That's kind of cool, though, yeah.
So, but I can totally understand what they're doing, because, you know, you're in a group, and it's just kind of like, dude,
yeah, because it is true. What they talk about is that when you're just hanging out with your friends, you act way different than you are when you're around strangers. You have to, like, kind of be polite and ask them questions, and you're like, ugh. It kind of takes the fun out of it if you're just hanging. If you just wanted to chill with your friends.
Exactly. I went with my dad and my sister, and then there was, like, another family, and that was it. And it was super fun. But I can totally get, you know, like, we did have to watch, I don't remember, I don't think we had to watch an orientation video or anything. I think some more of the intense ones you did, but, like, I get where they're coming from, and especially the horseback riding thing. Like, my, you know, I've been, I haven't done, like, that kind of horseback riding, but my mom has, and she actually rides horses. Like, she's like, I went on this, like, horseback riding thing, and it was the worst experience ever. It was so stupid because you have to go in a group, and I don't know what it is about these groups, but, they're always, you have to be nice to strangers.
Right, yeah.
Annoying.
Alright, this episode has a lot of, running jokes throughout it, which I really like, but my favorites are the make a long story short, Kenny's herpes, and double do.
Yeah, me too!
Those are the best ones.
Oh, the best part for me in this episode is definitely the live action thing.
Yes, the best part.
Stan is super hot. The guy playing Stan is, really good looking.
The actors are all really funny. They were kind of really got the characters. I was very impressed.
And what's hilarious is that they're all in Trey's dad's boat while they're doing this. It's literally Trey's dad is driving the boat.
Mm-hmm. Another part I loved is that Cartman kept shitting his pants, or he kept farting a lot because of the double do, and then Kyle tells him to go poop, and he's like, "No, I don't want to attract beavers." And on the boat, you see him do diarrhea off the side, and they're like, "Oh my god, beavers!"
Yeah, people hate this episode. It is so funny, especially when Cartman's like, "You're shitting off the side of the boat. You're not sticking up the boat. It is literally just like this hose."
It's like a hose going, yeah. And then I love when Mr. Hanky came to get them, and it's just literally a piece of poop on the side of the boat.
And then it's like we're all aboard the Poochoo train, and then the helicopter.
Yeah.
And what's the turd? What's the airplane?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, but it was so funny. Oh, I think this episode is really funny. I don't know why people hate it.
I know. I fucking love the part where Kyle tries to get them all to share Cartman's Mountain Dew, and then Cartman's like, "I'm not sharing with Kenny. He has herpes." And Kenny goes, "Dude, Cartman, fuck you." That makes me laugh so hard.
You know what? I kind of wish we could have Kenny talk and everything, but it's just a low, deep voice, some guy is totally monotone. It's like, dude, fuck you.
I know, I kind of love it. It kind of reminds me of the Mysterion voice.
I love it.
Alright, are you ready to go?
But we've talked about how much we love this episode, so we should probably move on
to my
an
favorite.
episode about love.
This is my favorite one of the season.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Cartman Finds Love.
Aired April 25th, 2012.
When a new black girl named Nicole comes to South Park Elementary, Cartman, thinking that blacks belong together, tries to play matchmaker with her in token. When he learns that the girl has a crush on Kyle, Cartman spreads a rumor about Kyle in order to maneuver Token and Nicole together. I honestly think this episode was made, just to, read, shippers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
People in the bed who would just, ship everyone and, force... this is honestly just embodied shipping.
I love the scene at the very beginning where all the girls are in their basement and Cartman's spying on them, and then Nicole's like, "Oh, I kind of like Kyle," and then Cartman's like, "Kyle."
I also love it when he confronts her and everything with the lie, and he's just like, "Yeah, Kyle's my man, bitch. Stay away."
Yeah, he's also
Don't
"I'm."
touch me. I'm really not a girl.
So it kind of grosses me out. It's so totally what Cartman thinks gay people are like. I can totally see it.
This episode is legendary because of Cupid Me.
Yes.
Cupid Me is easily the best part. It's like, dude, were you giving birth in there? Tee.
I love Cupid Me. And I also love the quote that Cartman says to Butters when he's trying to set up Token and Nicole. He goes, "Love is like taking a dump, Butters. Sometimes it works itself out, but sometimes you gotta give it a nice, hard, slimy push." Oh my god. That's honestly, it's gross, but it's honestly kind of true.
And then the laxative commercial at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. What's his name? Country singer. Alan Jackson guest stars in this episode for whatever reason.
I loved Cartman's, sensual cover of I Swear. That's so funny. He's
out of all the singers and everything, did Matt and Trey, and the writers handpick Alan Jackson?
I have no idea.
I guess.
I also love Kyle's part in this episode, because I love how he thinks all the girls are into him, but they actually think he's gay, because, Cartman is telling everyone that. And it was so cute, because Kyle was, really living for the attention, but then it all came crashing down.
It's so funny, because that's exactly what white girls do and everything. As soon as they find out a kid is gay, they're like, "Slay, hunty!
I know.
You're my best friend! Let's go shopping, and let's talk about guys. Like, that's basically what white girls do.
Ugh, yeah.
Straight white girls.
It really stinks.
But
I love this episode. It's very funny. I like every part of it. I like Cartman's story. I like Kyle's story. I like Token and Nicole's story. I think the theme is very strong because it shows that everyone, not just Cartman, or just kind of everyone in the world, like pushing Token and Nicole together is racist, but them being together of their own choice is not racist. I like the message.
I do like the message. I also I wonder if it has anything to do with, like, Matt and Trey's, but Trey wasn't married at this point, but they're both married to, I think, Trey's wife is, like, biracial or whatever, but, Matt is in a biracial relationship and everything. He's married to a black woman, so I wonder if there's like, any, like, part of him in this story and everything where it's just like, oh my gosh, like, people just expect,
right?
Like, I love, like, the line where Nicole's dad and everything,
oh yeah,
like, he's like, why don't you try some of the white meat? It's very bland and dry, but there's a lot more around it.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
It's so true, though.
I loved when Cartman's trying to find Nicole and the dad's like, oh, she went to a basketball game with a little Jewish boy. He's like so psyched about it, and then Cartman's like running and he's like, no.
I just think this episode is great because it's joke after joke after joke.
I love
like,
this one.
It's constantly funny, and I feel like this whole season is filled with episodes like that. It's just joke, keeps going. It's funny. It's fast-paced. It's really like a fast-paced episode for me.
Okay, you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on to this. Might be my favorite of the season.
I like this one a lot,
too. Let's go on to Sarcastaball.
Aired September 26, 2012.
Randy's sarcastic protest over attempts to make football safer leads to the creation of a new sport, Sarcastaball, and an unusual tactic on Butters to improve the South Park team's moral.
Are you done? Okay. I was going to say that I just love the running joke where all the characters can't stop being sarcastic.
Oh, yeah, that's a really clever idea. Totally didn't drive that into the ground, by the 20-minute mark, but...
by the 10-minute mark.
Yeah. But no joke, like, my favorite part of this... well, actually, I have a few favorite parts, but one of my favorite parts that never ceases to make me laugh is CeeLo Green singing at the...
oh, yeah.
I love Sarcastaball. It's so much better than football. Like, whenever he gets up and sings.
I love the part.
It's so funny. And then the guy is like, yeah, woo, go CeeLo. Yeah, I love your hit song.
I love the part where, it's like the very end where Randy and Sharon, like, just figured out that he can't stop being sarcastic, and they're trying to, like, rescue Stan from Sarcastaball, and then Stan gets pissed, he's like, oh, right, like, Randy doesn't exaggerate every disease he gets, and then Sharon's like, Randy, it's happening!
It's so funny, like, this is probably, I think this is the funniest one. Okay, we gotta talk about Butters Creamy.
Yes.
Like, they legit had a 9-year-old ejaculate, like, 3 separate times.
I know.
Like, that's a little early for a sperm arc, but, like, whatever. Whatever.
This episode's so funny because I love Butters, this whole thing where he like is giving people cum and he has no idea. He thinks because it's so bad, but it is also kind of Butters' dad's fault. Cause, like, this is what happens when you don't tell your kids the truth about what's happening with their body. They don't know what's going on, and they do shit like this.
Exactly. Oh my gosh! But my favorite line.
This is everyone's favorite line.
The green line is Randy at the end. Like, that's what snaps him out of the Sarcastaball thing. Is this is cum? It's like just totally deadpan, straightforward. Like, why does he know? Like, exactly.
Why is he the only one who knows out of the whole world? Exactly. That's my question.
Exactly. What else do I love? I love the Jesus compass, like the friend.
Oh yeah.
About an erection, it's like, Dad, my wiener's all pointy and stiff in it and standing straight up. He's like, oh, that's your friend compass, Butters. It's pointing to Jesus. Jesus is your friend.
Yeah. I like how this
Parents.
how the sport Butters is finally good at is like all about being nice. It fits so well with Butters' character, and I like how he kind of psychs out the other kids to be kinder and be better people. Okay, that's so Butters.
Exactly. I love the speech in the locker room and everything where it's just like, well, Clyde, you give some of the best hugs out there on that field. And Cartman's like, that's true.
Yeah.
Stan, hook up my bra.
Yeah. I love how the boys are actually like into it. Like they really like Sarcastaball after a while.
They do. Like, I would, honestly. Like, I'm that kind of person. I hate conflict. Like, I will avoid it like the plague. I will just sit there and be quiet if people start screaming at each other. Like, but, I would love a sport like this, honestly. I would kick ass. I could be the quarterback.
Right. Alright, do you want to move on?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I will say, like, the fun fact I have. I've been kind of not doing well on those. I haven't been giving a lot of fun facts recently. What?
I should fire you.
Bitch, no. Who else would call you a bitch on this show?
True, and who else would do it? Me? I don't think so.
But the one, the joke, this has come, like, Matt and Trey fought so hard to get that line on this, like, at the end of they're like, no, we need that line because it's what snaps Randy out of being sarcastic. And then, like, in the commentaries, they're like, we didn't actually really need it.
We just wanted it because we think it was funny.
Really wanted him to say, this is cum. So I'm glad they did.
Right, definitely.
Okay, now we can move on to the Emmy Award-winning episode, Raising the Bar.
Aired October 3rd, 2012.
Cartman finally realizes he is fat and decides to go do something about it. Get a mobility scooter. With so many fat people on scooter chairs and Honey Boo Boo being a TV star, James Cameron believes the societal bar has been lowered too much, so he goes on a deep expedition to find the bar and raise it.
This is obviously a parody of Honey Boo Boo. And she features very...
It's just like outright...
Yeah, she features very heavily in this episode. And I don't really have much to say about her in general, but I do love the whole line where Cartman's furious about Honey Boo Boo beating him in the ratings, and that was kind of... that was Matt and Trey because Honey Boo Boo has beaten South Park in the ratings, and that was them kind of like inserting themselves in there.
Exactly. Well, I will say, they're actually from Georgia, which is where I live. They currently live in Georgia.
Are they your neighbors?
So if you want any representation of what it's like living in the area that I live in, go watch Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. I'm not gonna lie. Also, I was a very dedicated fan to the show. It's funny. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I've watched it before.
Like it's a good show. No, it's a shit show. It's funny though. It's funny. Like, but like it is very lowbrow. Like you kind of feel like you're laughing, but at the same time you're feeling disgusting for yourself. Like
like
really?
You feel like you're laughing, but you kind of feel bad because you're kind of laughing at them, but you don't know how to not laugh at them because that's what all the humor is. So
exactly, and there's something about this episode where part of me feels like, are they like fat shaming? I hate like saying this because now it's turned into like a joke or whatever, but that they're like, I'm like, is this like fat shaming? I'm not offended. Like I'm a heavier person and everything. Like I'm chubby, but you think that some people would be like really offended by this, but it's kind of not.
I don't know, because I don't know that they're necessarily making fun of fat people for being fat. I think they're criticizing how they use mobility scooters, and they're trying to use this system to take advantage of it to get treatment because they're fat. I think that's what they're making fun of.
Exactly. See, that's where that's what I came to the conclusion. I'm like, oh yeah, they're really like not hating on fat people, really. Like,
my favorite.
A lot of it's an over exaggeration and everything.
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of like it is really shitty when people like. Because I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World, because there are literally more wheels than feet there, and people like it's really. I love the scene where Cartman's at Disneyland and everything, and they're just like running people like they're so inconsiderate. It's like, and it's always like it's not people with like actual disabilities who literally can't use their legs. It's always the huge people. Some of them aren't even that big. They just want to use the scooters.
Yeah.
They like run you over. It's so it's annoying, and it's kind of like they're like, oh no, it's a disability. I'm like, bitch, you can walk.
I know,
you can walk. Shut the fuck up.
My favorite line is when Cartman's in the gym class with his mobility scooter, and he's, like, ranting, and he's like, this is what Adele's always talking about. Our culture celebrates anorexia and tries to make us ashamed if we don't have slim stomachs and perky little tits like Kyle.
Okay, not to interrupt you, but my puppy is wagging her tail in her sleep, and I thought you should all know that.
Aww.
It's really cute. She heard us talking about South Park, and
That's
it made
right.
her wag her tail.
She got excited.
Anyway, back to the show.
I like the James Cameron storyline, because I think that the idea that society's standards is, like, an actual physical bar is, like, very clever, and I like how James Cameron tries to, like, raise it back up.
And everything. Like,
yeah.
I love the freaking Randy Newman rip. Like, that's really funny. It's like, I only know 6 chords. Like,
yeah. I have no idea who that is, but it's so funny.
They're just, like, really ripping on Randy Newman. Poor guy.
Yeah. I liked Token in this episode, too. I liked how he had this kind of sinister ulterior motive where he's trying to make money off Cartman. That was cool.
Yeah, I also kind of love Kyle admitting he's like, I'm just trying to make some money off of him. It's like, dude!
It's kind of a step up from the crack baby thing, because that's really what all he was doing back then, but he just couldn't admit it. Now he's kind of like, yep, that's what I was doing.
Like, I'm making money off of him.
Right.
But he still feels bad, Like,
right, because it's Kyle.
It's still in Kyle's character.
Exactly.
So, I'm not saying, like, I'm shocked that this episode got an Emmy, because, I mean, I don't really know what it was contending against, but I'm surprised it was this one and not something else, from this season. But, it talks about society, so I guess that's just, Emmy fodder or whatever.
Yeah.
But, okay, we'll move on to, I love this one, too, Insecurity.
Aired October 10th, 2012.
After Ike witnesses his parents engaging in sexual role play, the men in the town come to believe that their wives are sleeping with the UPS delivery man. Meanwhile, Cartman gets a security system for his house, but is angered by the nonchalant responses of the agents who respond to its alerts.
Okay, I have kind of a question about this movie that stick with me, but the whole storyline where, like, this drawing that Ike draws of, like, the UPS man and then mom, and it gets kind of passed around and there's misconceptions of it. It kind of leads me to believe that this episode is a parody of this 80s movie called Secret Admirer, because kind of the same thing happens, where, like, some girl writes a letter to a friend that she's, like, in love with him, but, like, she doesn't put his name on it, and then, like, his mom finds it and thinks that, like, her like, some lover wrote that to her husband, and then the husband finds it and thinks that the mom wrote it to him, and then he brings it to work, and then the boss thinks that he wrote it to her, and it's this whole thing, like, this letter is getting passed around, and everyone thinks it's a different thing than it is. So that really reminded me of this episode, and I was wondering if this episode is a parody of that movie. I have no idea if it is, but it reminded me of it a lot.
Damn, bitch, it might be.
It's really similar plot, right?
It sounds really likely.
Right.
They didn't talk about it in the episode, but honestly, well, maybe they did in the commentary. I don't know. I haven't listened to the commentary in a while, but I guess. Girl,
We'll put that as maybe. Maybe it's a parody of Secret Admirer.
Or it's a direct ripoff.
Yeah.
But I really like this episode. I love the insecurity joke and everything, where it's like security system. Mine would be going off all the damn time.
Yeah, definitely.
It would just be constantly ringing all the time. But I love the commercial for it and everything, where it's like, the kid is like trying on shoes and everything. He's like, oh, do they fit? Well, I bet they don't fit as nicely as my fucking knife in your skull.
Me. Yeah, I also liked the joke where Cartman he's freaking out about the, getting robbed or whatever, and he gets the home security system, and he kind of he's out playing the people on the phone, and he's like, yeah, I just fucked your head, and the UPS guy just fucked my mom. Like, it's so true. Like, how do you know that the person on the phone isn't just stalling you while they're robbing the house and then they're gonna leave? Like, I've always wondered that.
I've also loved when it goes off, because Kyle says, like, the Jewish population isn't dying out, fat ass, it's growing, and then it goes off, he's like, no, I just heard some disturbing news.
Yeah. I was really happy to see that the creepy guy from the Pet Sematary episode is back. I think he's such a cool character.
Yeah, he's like He's like the Jaws guy, the guy in Jaws. I think like that's what he's a parody of.
I can see that.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this one.
I have a couple things to say. One, poor that UPS guy. I feel so bad for him. And two, why do Gerald and Sheila never close their door while they're having sex? Like, they never.
It's always freaking open.
Like, wide open, too. It's like not even just a crack.
And why do they not hear, like, their kids coming down the hallway and everything?
I know, you would think that while you're having sex in a house with children, you'd be, like, listening for that, but whatever.
Like, seriously, this is at least, like, they've at least, in this show, they've had their door open, and Ike and Kyle have seen them banging, like, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's, like, 3 or 4 times too many. That's insane.
Exactly. Like, you should learn from your mistakes now.
Right.
But this one's funny. I like this episode a lot. But we'll move on to my sister's favorite episode ever. My sister loves this episode, Going Native.
Aired October 17th, 2012.
When Butter starts becoming extremely aggressive and rude, his parents tell him that he is a native Hawaiian and must journey to that island to take part in an adolescent rite of passage. When he goes there with Kenny, he becomes embroiled in conflict between the Hawaiians and the mainland U.S. So, like I said earlier, I actually went to Hawaii, and I enjoyed this episode before I went. Now I enjoy it even more because, holy shit, like, the tourists there are some who've, like, oh, this is our 3rd time going to Hawaii. It's like we're a native. I'm like, no, bitch, you're white.
Like,
Stop
really?
it,
Are you really a native?
Like, stop it, Carol. And it's like, just because you know the word mahalo does not mean you're a native Hawaiian. Shut the hell up.
I know.
Like, it's so funny because people there actually treat it like, it's like, oh, we're natives, but it's all old-ass white people. Saying, like, we're just part of the culture. No, bitch, you're a haole.
Right.
You're a haole,
too. I just need to take, and this is going to be kind of long, but I fucking love the beginning of this episode where Butters is, like, screaming at everybody, because he's ripping their wigs off one by one, and it's really awesome, and I have to read this whole thing, because it's so on point, so I'm just going to read it, okay? Alright, it says, here we go, Butters goes, you just think you know everything, don't you, Kyle? Every little thing you gotta shoot your mouth off like you're the freaking expert. Well, you don't know everything, because your best friend is a kid who thinks the entire planet revolves around him, and he only cares about his image. You guys think Cartman is the only selfish piece of crap at this school? You're all fake and stuck up, and none of you have the courage to tell Jimmy that his jokes aren't funny. The only kid here with any sense of dignity is Kenny, and the rest of you have your heads up your butts. What the fuck? That was the best call I've ever heard.
That was the best call, and this is the very first time in the show where their actual, like, flaws and real, like, deep character, like, traits are, like, pointed out.
They're acknowledged, yeah, which
like,
I love.
These are actual, like, we have receipts for it and shit, but this is the first time the writers have actually said, like, oh, yeah, Kyle is self-absorbed, or,
he's self-righteous, yeah.
Kyle is self-righteous. He thinks he's right all the time. He always has to, put his nose in everything. Jimmy isn't actually funny.
Yeah, which I love that, because we always talk about how, like, how well developed the characters are for, like, a cartoon, how Stan and Kyle are totally different, blah blah. And I love this line because it shows that it's not an accident. Mantra are totally aware of who these characters are, what they're doing, how they fit into a plot. It's like, they're amazing.
Season 16, bitch.
Exactly. I love Butters and Kenny's friendship in this episode. I love that they couldn't find anything bad to say about Kenny, because who can, honestly. And I loved Kenny's letter to Stan and Kyle and Cartman, where he's like, I saw this chick in a bikini on a beach, too. She had the nicest boobs ever. Humbly yours, Kenneth.
I really enjoy, like, I don't know, my sister really likes this episode because it's a ton of shipping material for Bunny fans.
Oh, yeah.
Kenny and Butters fans. Which, all power to you. But that's why that's my sister's favorite episode. So,
that's funny. They really are cute.
Really
like, regardless of whether you ship them or not, like, their friendship is really cute in this episode.
It is really cute. Like, and I love having, like, a Kenny episode. It really is a lot like a Kenny episode. It's got Butters and everything, but I also love the reason why Butters is because Ben Affleck is perfect.
Yeah.
Has the perfect life. He has everything.
Yeah.
Except for a dimensional face.
Right. Oh, good. Alright, do you want to go on?
Yeah, let's go on to A Nightmare on FaceTime, which for some reason it was not aired on Halloween.
It was aired on October 24th, 2012.
In this parody of The Shining, Randy buys a Blockbuster video store in the hopes of reviving the video rental business, but the obsolete business drives him mad. Meanwhile, the boys dressed as the Avengers, including the absentee Stan, using his iPad's FaceTime, go trick-or-treating and come back face-to-face with a gang of serial killers.
No, they're the
wrong.
Red Box robbers, right?
They're the Red Box robbers, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
You're wrong.
I mean, they did kill a guy, but I wouldn't call them serial killers.
Yeah, that's why I hesitated.
Alright, that's weird. Well, this is obviously a parody of The Shining, where Randy, like, buys the Blockbuster, and then he kind of goes crazy in there. And I love this parody because, I mean, it has been done before, but I love the way they do it here, is that, like, Randy's, like, losing his shit, and, like, his family doesn't care at all. They're just, like, annoyed. They're not scared or anything.
I love the ending where he's frozen and everything. She's like, we're gonna go to McDonald's. What do you want? He's like, do you want something? Chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Fries. Sweet and sour sauce. Like, it's really fun. And then Stan puts the iPad and it was like, just like to add salt to the wound.
Oh god, yeah. I love the part when Randy's just starting to lose it. And Stan goes, I think something's wrong with Dad. And Sharon's like, you think? Like, that was so funny. I love Sharon.
Me too. This episode's funny. It's not my favorite I actually think these last 3 episodes really aren't my favorite. They're still fine. Like, they're fine, but they're not that great. Which sounds super mean, but, like, I don't know, this, I like how it rips on Gangnam Style, which really makes it dated.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
I love the joke where no one can guess what Cartman is, like, his costume.
No, it's Harvey Firestein. No, honey, Harvey Firestein is just fat and gay.
Yeah, it's like I'm not fat and I'm not gay. The incredibly fat and gay skinny straight man. That's my favorite. Oh my god. And I like the whole thing where they're treating like Kyle's iPad dying as Stan actually dying and stuff. And
so funny.
and I love how he's told Kenny to stay gold. He's like, stay gold, Kenny, and then it's like battery dies.
The Outsiders, which
Yeah.
we all know my story about the Outsiders.
Oh yeah.
Wait, do we?
Yeah, I think you've told it before. But this is not the first time they've done an Outsiders parody though. I remember them doing it before.
Yeah, long story short, my mom has bought me 4 consecutive copies of The Outsiders on DVD, forgetting...
On accident, though, yeah.
Forgetting that she's bought me those DVDs like 3 times. But, what I really like, I like how it talks about Blockbuster Video, because I just remember, like, going to Blockbuster. Like, it's totally
Me too.
extinct now. Like,
Yeah.
I used to go to Blockbuster all the time.
I know, like, my dad would take me and my brother to go to Blockbuster. We'd pick out a movie, then we'd go to Walmart, pick out some candy, and then have movie night. Like, I remember that so clearly.
Exactly. It's kind of sad, actually. Like, I love the convenience of Netflix and everything, but I kind of miss, like, the routine of, it'd be Friday night, we have something similar. My sister and my dad and my mom would be working at the hospital. My sister, my dad, and it would be Friday night. We would go to Kroger to make pizza, like get stuff to make pizza.
Yeah.
Then we'd go to Blockbuster next door and rent a DVD and all watch it. And we'd have pizza. Like that, I miss that part of it, but I love the convenience of like Netflix and Hulu and everything.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
What's really sad is the fact that Blockbusters used to have videotapes, like tapes.
Oh my god, I know. Oh.
Anyway, we'll move on to A Scause for Applause.
Aired on actual Halloween, October 31st, 2012.
Right? That's stupid. Why didn't they just wait? Whatever. When the public comes comes to believe that Jesus performed his miracles because he was using drugs, they cease wearing their What Would Jesus Do wristbands. But Stan controversially refuses to take off his bracelet, which leads to both criticism and the creation of a new movement dedicated to nonconformity. So here we go, Stan. You're living up to Butter's call-out.
Yeah, I actually have something to say about this, is that I do love Stan and, like, all his flaws and everything, but, the whole storyline where he kind of gets led astray by his ego has been, dare I say it, kind of done to death on this show. They do it a lot, but because it works, it's a good formula, but I like that they kept it fresh in this episode by, like, making his head, like, so big and ridiculous that he's actually compared to Jesus, like...
Exactly. I love Jesus. I love it whenever they have Jesus in the
Me
show
too.
because I think it's really funny. Like, it's literally just Matt's voice, and like he used to be so one note. Like, Jesus's character used to be kind of like bland and like not bland. He was still funny, but he was one note, kind of monotone.
Yeah.
And everything. Now he's like defensive. He's like, yeah, well, I'm out here helping the people of Belarus. I actually think it's Belarus. It just might as well be if we
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, they were so funny. I love one of my favorite parts is Stan's like sports commercial or whatever, where he's so dramatic, and it's like, sir, do you want to sit down? No thanks, I'll stand.
I love how ready. I love it. I honestly love it when they're like, oh, there he is, Stan, are you ready for your Nike commercial? And it's like, yes.
he's ready.
Like, Stan is so ready to be in the spotlight all the time.
Exactly.
It's so funny. Gotta love that ego.
Oh god.
I don't know. Like, Stan has the ego where normally you'd really dislike him. Like, this usually is a quality where you dislike the characters, but I can't bring myself to dislike him. Like, I can dislike what he's doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the episode, I can't hate him
because
he's too likable.
I think the thing is that even when Stan kind of gets on his ego trip, it's never just about him looking good. Like, that's always a factor, but he does always care about others. He tries to help them. He just also tries to help himself while he's doing it. That's why.
Yeah, and that sometimes becomes his main priority, and that's what screws him over.
Oh, absolutely. I love their commentary on, like, people wearing all these wristbands or bracelets or whatever, and they're wearing causes on them, like, kind of showing off, like, this is all the stuff that I care about. Like, I love the scene where Cartman's like, I don't give a crap about recycled plastic, and then someone's like, yes you do, and, like, point to his wristband. He's like, oh, I guess I do care about that, huh? Like, it just shows that, like, Cartman doesn't give a shit. He just wants to look like he gives a shit and, like, really seem compassionate.
Exactly, and that's like a lot of people, you know, you won't help out for a cause, but you'll pretend like you do, and that's everybody. Everybody does that, you know, it's not, you know, not holier than thou moment right now, but, I really like the Dr. Seuss parody. I thought that was really clever. It took them a long time. Like, it took them a long time to do a Dr. Seuss parody, I think.
Yeah. They did a good job, though. I loved all the rhyming. You could tell a lot of effort got put into it, and it was very whimsical and it was very cool.
Yeah, and the animation style was really clever.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it, you know. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
Like, out of the last three, this one's probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I also like
the last 3 episodes of the season.
Yeah, that we finally got to see Jesus, like, all hopped up on HGH. Like, that was so terrifying, but it was, like, really funny.
I love it. Well, ready to go on to Obama Wins?
I am. Aired November 7th, 2012.
Eric Cartman hides swing state ballots from the 2012 U.S. presidential election in a plot that involves Barack Obama, the Chinese government, and the Walt Disney Company, and the future of both the election and the upcoming Star Wars sequels. This episode, watching it was kind of bittersweet because Obama. It's sad.
I miss him.
It's sad. I'm like, can we go back in time, please?
I know.
Please. Please. And I will say that even though this is my least favorite from the season, just because it's not as memorable, I don't think it's a bad episode. I just don't think it's as funny and it's not as memorable as the other episodes. I will say it didn't excuse the message they had in Douche and Turd. I'm not saying that, like, in Douche and Turd, they were just saying, oh, never vote, it's stupid, you're stupid for caring about anything, like, don't vote, it's dumb, you have no voice. In this one, they like, Kyle actually does say, like, no, these, you know, people are choosing to do this, people are taking time to go out and vote for something, and their votes matter, you know.
Yeah, I like the message here, especially the scene at the beginning where Cartman's, like, explaining his plan to Kyle. He's like, oh, look, this person made the effort to get involved, get informed, they went to the voting station, they made their voice heard, and now look, and then he ripped it up, and I was like, no! Because he knew what he was doing was very malicious for that reason, and, because I'm, like, super into voting, as you all know, so I was like, no, I'd be so mad, like, I went through all that effort, and then Cartman just stole my vote and ripped it up.
See, I'm not sure if Matt and Trey did that as, like, a way to further their anti-voting kind of things. They haven't really touched on it recently. They really haven't touched on voting issue. I mean, in season 20 they did, but we won't talk about that. It's not a Podcasa Bonita episode unless we mention season 20 at one point.
Right, oh god, yeah.
But I mean, it could have been their use. It's like, oh, your votes really don't matter. But what Kyle is saying to me, like, I understood it as Kyle, like, no, these are people's votes, they matter. Because it's what people believe. They believe that their voice is valid. And that's why voting is significant and everything.
I totally agree. I think even when Cartman was mocking Kyle, like, the way he was doing it, like, it makes it that he knows that what voting is so important, that's why what he's doing is so shitty, and he knows that. And I think that's kind of the message. But the real message that they're trying to say is, like, kind of a sillier one, like, which one matters more, like, the election, or, like, the right person getting elected, or who's gonna make Star Wars.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like, and you know what's really funny is, like, the success of the Star Wars sequels. Like, my dad legit thinks that Rogue One is, like, the best Star Wars movie. Like, he wasn't big on The Force Awakens, but he loved Rogue One. He's like, I think that's the best Star Wars movie ever made. Like, and my dad is a pretty big Star Wars fan. You know, he's watched the movies since they first came out and all that. And so to hear him say that, I'm like, well, good job, Disney.
You impressed my dad.
Even made, like, a diehard fan, you know.
Yeah.
Happy.
I love the scene where Butters is, like, revealed to know something, and then he, like, took an almond M&M, so he, like, couldn't reveal the secret. And then he's in the hospital bed, and then, like, Kenny has to translate what Butters is saying because no one else can understand it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I do like that. That joke is pretty funny. That's another joke I thought it took them a while to, like, happen, where they couldn't understand what Kenny or Jimmy was, like, saying, you know? I thought they would have used that, like, a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But
they do seem to, for the most part, the boys can understand Kenny, though, because I think the whole joke is that people, like, adults can't, but, like, like, his friends can or something, I don't know. But that joke was funny. I also like seeing Mickey Mouse again, because I fucking loved him in the Jonas Brothers episode, and I loved him here, because, like, Mickey Mouse is such, like, an adorable Disney icon, and, like, this character is such a ruthless take on him. It's so funny.
Exactly. I love it.
Right,
but
that's all I have to say about this one.
Yeah, that's all I have to say, too. Bye, y'all. Just kidding. We're probably going to talk a little bit more. Like we said earlier, we'll have season 17 back on schedule and everything. We'll be back on track.
Yes,
it was
next
just
week.
my jet lag that caused me from doing it. So, yeah, I guess that's it. That was season 16.
Yes, I enjoyed.
I will say, I don't think it's as good as season 14. I'll still say that, but I think South Park, I hate admitting it, but I don't think South Park has been as good as this season since.
I agree. I think it's the best season in the last 6 years, or 5 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been the best recent season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so,
but we'll get into that in the next couple podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep going. We're not gonna just stop at the good season. So you know what? Who knows? Maybe when we're actually rewatching the next couple of seasons, we'll have, you know, we've been doing that constantly. We'll always think like, hey, you know, the season isn't great, but then we go back and watch it and we're like, oh yeah, I love this episode.
Yeah, it is kind of good, right? Exactly. Hopefully that'll be the case.
So we're hypocrites, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was nice reporting again, finally, and we will see you guys in a week.
Bye, you guys.
We love you.
We love you.